Hello, everybody, to the NBA Trade Zone podcast, where we talk all things NBA trades, past, present, future. Hi, guys. My name is Daniel.
And I am Sebastian. And today we're going to be looking at the upcoming trade deadline, and we're going to focus our podcast on the Western Conference, where we look at the teams who are in the playoff race and also teams at the bottom, and what are some trades they can make to improve their roster for the final playoff push. Now, the interesting thing in the Western Conference, besides the Denver Nuggets and Golden State Warriors, and of course the Phoenix Suns, who are all the way at the bottom, it seems like a lot of the teams are still in the playoff race. Now, I would argue that some of those teams, like the Kings and the Pelicans, are a little bit out of it. But it's still early, and they're only a couple games back, so almost any team there from like the third seed to about the 14th seed are still in contention.
Yeah, so it's going to be a very exciting playoff race. One of the things that interests me the most about the Western Conference playoff race, surprisingly, is how Memphis, Sacramento, and the Clippers fare, and that's because of the picks that they own to Boston. Specifically Memphis and Clippers, that the way they perform will have implications on whether those picks go to Boston. So that's just something else to look forward to as this playoff race continues. So without further ado, we could get started. And real quick, I wanted to bring up the Phoenix Suns and their pursuit of DSJ and just how much they should pursue Dennis Smith Jr. How much do you think they should pursue Dennis Smith Jr.? And in your opinion, what do you think would be fair value for Dennis Smith Jr.?
I mean, I think if you look at it, the obvious trade there would be Dennis Smith Jr. for Josh Jackson. Two rookies coming from the same class who both of them are underperforming, and maybe a change of scenery and a new fit would actually be a better idea. I think for the Mavericks this would be good because they would put the ball more in Luka's hands, and they would give him a wing to come off the bench for now, but who has a little bit of a future. I mean, obviously his offensive game isn't really good, but he's still very athletic, and he has a good defensive game, which can help improve the team, at least in the future.
Okay, so you don't think Dennis Smith Jr. is more valuable than Josh Jackson? I mean, like a decent amount more valuable than Josh Jackson. I mean, he had a very solid season last year, Dennis Smith Jr. And Josh Jackson had some stretches where he was decent, but he looks pretty bad this year. And Dennis Smith Jr., although he may not have improved as much as people hoped, at least he's shooting more efficiently this year, and I think he'd be much more successful in a Suns uniform than Josh Jackson. So you don't think he has more value than that? Perhaps at least the T.J. Warren type value?
Well, I mean, if I'm the Suns, I probably wouldn't trade T.J. Warren for Dennis Smith Jr. Dennis Smith Jr. had a decent year last year, but he was also on a very bad team where he had the ball, and it was kind of some of the stats that he was putting up were kind of empty stats. I do think, I think Dennis Smith
But
Jr.
that wasn't his choice to be putting up empty stats.
Of course it wasn't his choice, but I'm not going to, give you an A+, give you a sticker on your head for it. I mean, I don't think he's a great fit in Dallas. I don't think him and Doncic have much of a future together. So I think it'd be smart for the Mavericks to move on and to see what else they can get for Dennis Smith Jr. From what I've been hearing, there's not a lot of people who want Dennis Smith Jr. and they're not willing to give up a lot.
Well, I mean, I agree about the fact that he doesn't fit well with Doncic and he should get traded. But here's the thing. If I'm Dallas, I feel no rush to trade him. I mean, so if you don't offer me a package worthy enough of Dennis Smith Jr. value, then I'm not trading him. And I think that's where the problem comes in, is that if you want to trade him, you have to offer a package that is worthy enough. And I believe that it'd take at least TJ Warren. I'm definitely not trading for Josh Jackson. Absolutely no way. Am I trading Dennis Smith Jr. for Josh Jackson? You got to offer me at least TJ Warren. So I think he'd be a nice fit in Phoenix. I think there will be a decent amount of teams pursuing him too, like Orlando, Detroit, and probably at least a handful of other teams who will call, and they probably won't be willing to give up as much as an Orlando or as a Detroit, as a Phoenix, but they'll still be calling and willing to make an offer. So,
but what about Dennis Smith Jr. really excites you?
Well, I mean, I think he's young. He's extremely athletic. He's got a lot of potential, and that is worthy of something when you're a team who needs a point guard on a rebuilding team. That is worthy when you're trying to build something that will last long term. And yes, like I said, he struggled more this year than he had last year, but it's still not like he's terrible, and it's not like he's showing that he has that he does not fit in an NBA, like a Josh Jackson, for example. Josh Jackson is kind of showing to me that that he's not. There may not be a long-term future for him as a rotational piece in the NBA, at least not as a worthy rotational piece in the NBA. Dennis Smith Jr. hasn't shown me that yet.
I think both Josh Jackson and Dennis Smith Jr. Now, obviously, Dennis Smith Jr.'s numbers show that he's a little bit of a better shooter, but Josh Jackson, from what I see, is basically a shot away from being an rotational NBA player. He's a good defender. He's bigger than Dennis Smith Jr. and he is obviously a way better defensive player. So to me, there's more upside with Josh Jackson than there is with Dennis Smith Jr. because of his lack of defense, and because of his high turnover rate. I don't necessarily would argue for Dennis Smith Jr. having much of a future and being ready to, be a rotational piece on the Dallas Mavericks.
Okay, yeah, definitely disagreeing on this one, but we will move on to. Who do you want to move on to? What do we want to move on?
I'll just start with one of my favorite trades that I concocted here that I haven't really heard being talked about. But so hear me out. So Portland Trailblazers are going to make who are obviously I believe they're fourth right now.
Third, actually.
Third, okay. So, but they're also part of those hodgepodge of teams that are 1 or 2 games away from each other.
Of course.
So the Portland Trailblazers make a trade where they trade for Otto Porter Jr. and the Wizards get Evan Turner, Zach Collins, and Anthony Simons.
Okay. I definitely like Otto Porter Jr. In value, this seems like a fair trade. How much do you think Portland wants to give up Zach Collins?
I don't think that they're high on giving up Zach Collins, but I do think that, and this was something that I was a little bit wrong about, the emergence of Nurkic as a center who, he's still relatively young, right?
Oh, yeah, he's only, I believe, 25.
And you're not going to play Nurkic and Collins together on the court at the same time in the modern NBA. So how much part of your future is Zach Collins going to be if you're going to have Nurkic there, who seems to have a good rapport with both their guards? He plays well with them, and he's had a very efficient year. So in my opinion, it's just like, yes, Zach Collins has a bright future, and he's a stretch 5. But Otto Porter, there's just not going to be enough time for him. And in my opinion, you want to trade him when there's value for him. And if you can get a player like Otto Porter, who's, kind of like the utility knife in the NBA. He can do a little bit of things, and now you're seeing his numbers actually improve a little bit since John Wall's off the court. He might be getting back to his form of last year or 2 years ago. I think that's a good move. You're going to have to give up something to get a player like Otto Porter, even though he's on a pretty bad contract. He's getting overpaid a little bit. But
well, that's why you're adding in Evan Turner, yeah. So
yeah, but you have to pay that contract for 2 more years after this year. But I do believe that, getting rid of Zach Collins, it's going to hurt a little bit, but you are getting something in return. I think an addition of Otto Porter would really improve the Trailblazers at defense, and I think even offensively they would be a better team. Even though you're giving up 3 players, you're probably improving your depth a little bit because Otto Porter is just better than Evan Turner or Zach Collins.
Yeah, like I said, in terms of value, this sounds like a fair trade. I definitely take it if I'm Washington, too, because you get yourself a nice young center, a decent – we don't know what Anthony Simons is going to become, but if first-round pick has to mean something. He has to be something so he could potentially develop there in Washington and given an appropriate amount of playing time. I think a couple other guys that they might look forward to this trade deadline could be try to make a trade for are either Kent Bazemore or Marc Gasol if he should become available. Even though, like you said, Nurkic is playing so well, and I don't think they'd fit too nicely around each other. But would you, for example, trade Nurkic plus Evan Turner for Marc Gasol?
No, because if you look at, Marc Gasol had a good start of the year. If you look at his numbers as of late, I'm pretty sure Nurkic is playing a little bit better, at least on the offensive side of on the offensive side. So, no, I don't believe I would make that trade. Nurkic is much younger. He is on a decent contract. He's not on an overpaid contract. Marc Gasol has an option for next year to get paid $25 million. In my opinion, he'd be crazy not to take it unless he's not concerned with money and he feels like, he's already set himself up financially stable. He wants to be in a better situation, then he could opt out. But if I'm the Portland Trailblazers, I don't think Nurkic is the issue. And I don't think adding Marc Gasol is going to take you out of, being part of that race.
I actually probably would do it if I'm Portland. If anything, just to shake things up. Marc Gasol's a better defender. Definitely stretches the floor better. So even though Nurkic is younger, I'd still probably just take this risk just to shake things up and see whether Marc Gasol makes that much of a difference on my team or not. And I think you mentioned Marc Gasol opting out. The other reason he might opt out is it's kind of similar to Paul Millsap and Horford this offseason. The three of them might opt out and try to sign for a longer deal, maybe with a little less money. For example, with Marc Gasol might be 3 years, $60 million, where at that point, this 1 year, if he accepts a $25 million team option, sure, he gets $25 million, but he might struggle so bad or he might drop off so bad that he does not get another contract worth more, for example, than $10 million a year.
Do you think Marc Gasol can get $20 million on the market?
Probably not. I'm just saying that $18 million, 3 years, 54. That he could probably get.
Look at the contract DeAndre Jordan got. He got 1 year, $20 million?
Different players.
Different players. One's 4 years older. And
one's better defensively and one stretches the floor better. He's a much more modern NBA player. DeAndre Jordan got $25 million, and guess what? He'll probably get another $15 million for 1 year this year.
Yeah, I don't know if you're Marc Gasol, you're going to be able to get much out there. The way the Senators have been getting paid as of late, Brook Lopez took $4 million to play in Milwaukee.
Oh, but he didn't struggle last year, but the guy averaged with the Lakers 4 rebounds a game.
Yeah, but he was also there was obviously some upside for his shooting. Obviously we didn't know he's going to come out and shoot 7 or 8 threes a game.
Not even close.
Make him at an efficient clip, but we knew he could shoot.
Yeah, but not even close to what he's doing there. Nobody expected this out of Brook Lopez.
No, of course.
To his credit, he's revamped his career there. I would love to see him next year, if possible, as a Warrior. I think that would be fantastic. Unless DeMarcus Cousins, of course, comes back. The Warriors could use their mid-level exception. But, that's just a pipe dream.
All right. So that's the Portland Trailblazers. Now, I'm going to give you a trade with the Utah Jazz. And it would be a pretty easy swap of Tim Hardaway Jr. and Ricky Rubio. Now, the reason why I bring this up, I know you're taking on Tim Hardaway and you're taking up his contract, but you are Utah, you're going to have some cap space. And, the Utah Jazz are not known for signing players, getting marquee free agents. So, yes, a fit of Tobias Harris or a Chris Middleton or even a Kemba Walker would be much, much better than Tim Hardaway Jr., but I don't know and I don't believe you will be able to. Those players will be enticed to come to Utah. So do you use that cap space now and make a move where you improve? I believe Tim Hardaway Jr. is a little bit better player than Ricky Rubio, especially since Rubio's having a down season this year. And I would kind of add some offense to a team that one area that struggles is the offense. What do you think?
Okay, well, I'm really glad you brought this up because I got something for you that you might hate, but I'm going to bring it up anyway and give you my rationale after I explain. Yes.